name is Sammy and today I'm going to be giving you some information and some tips on how to eat healthy foods. Now, today I have a patient with me, Miss Carizales. How are you today, man?
Yes, good afternoon, Dr. Guevara. Yes, I have a couple of questions that I need to ask you about the way that I eat. Um, I understand that I'm supposed to have a healthy and balanced diet, but I'm still trying to understand what is a carbohydrate.
Basically, what carbohydrates are, it's any large group of organic compounds occurring in foods, living tissues, and and including sugars, starch, and glucose.
Oh, that's precisely what I was going to ask you. What kind of food is classified as carbohydrates?
Basically, it would be cereal, crackers, cake, flour, jams, preserves, beans, sugary drinks, vegetables, whole grains, fruits, nuts, um, all the above.
Now that sounds like a long list. Now it sounded like there were some real good choices and some bad choices. Can you be more specific
On the good and bad
on the
choices?
good and bad choices
Yes,
of
the good
carbohydrates,
choices would
please?
be the whole grains, the fruits, the vegetables. Now, the bad choices, it would be a lot of the sugary and fatty stuff like the cakes, flours, sodas. Yes.
Now, doctor, I consider myself to be an active person. What would your recommendation be on a healthy amount of carbohydrates that I would need on a daily basis?
If you're active, the average would be 1,490 to 2,080 calories of carbohydrates.
Now, that's very interesting. Now, what would be a good example of a good portion of carbohydrates for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Basically, a good portion would be for breakfast and lunch. It would be breakfast would have to be 75 grams, which would be the amount to get you started, and then lunch and dinner would be about the same, from 50 to 60 grams.
All right. Thank you, doctor. Now let's change. I have some questions about lipids. Can you please explain what is a lipid?
Lipids are molecules that contains hydrocarbons and make up the building blocks of the structure of functions of living cells.
Now, what kinds of foods would you say are classified as carbohydrates?
They would be salmon, trouts, anchovies, shellfish, baked goods, potato chips, uh, prepared salad dressings, and margarines.
Is there any real good or bad lipids?
There are two good lipids and there is one bad lipid. The good lipid would be, or the good lipids would be the omega-6, which are found in sunflower oil and soybean oils. And then there's the omega-3s, which are sardines, salmon, trout, anchovies, shellfish, and coconut oil. And then there's the monotrans fats, which are peanut butter oil, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. Now, the bad would be the trans fats, which are found in red meats, um, sodas, and there's also the saturated fats, which is also found in chips, French fries, a lot of the fried stuff that requires cooking oil.
Now, is there myths about lipids?
Yes, it's said that lipids are supposed to keep your blood level or blood cholesterol levels as low as possible.
Okay, so there were.
Well, at least under 200 milligrams.
Now, what is a healthy amount of lipids that I would need? Remember that I mentioned, doctor, that I'm an active person.
if you're an active person, and this goes for also inactive, so there's no change, it would be 35% of your calorie intake, 7% being saturated fats, 1% being trans fats, and then the other being the monotrans fats.
All right. Now, could you give me a good example of what a good portion of lipids?
Yes, it would be like a breakfast, like where if you were to have a bowl of cereal, it would be fat-free milk, and for lunch, it could be tuna salad with the low-fat mayonnaise and some whole wheat bread.
And the lipids would be in the.
Mayonnaise.
Oh, I see. I see where you're going. All right, doctor. Now, let's switch. Can we talk now about proteins, please?
Yes.
I always hear that that's important in your diet. What is a protein, Dr. Guevara?
Proteins are the largest and the most complex molecules that play many critical roles in the body. They do the most work in a cell and are required for the structure, function, and regulation of the body's tissue and organs.
What kind of food would you say are classified as carbohydrates?
Fish, for example, like cod, tuna, and salmon. Cheese, um, lean turkey breast and chicken breast, lean beef cuts, pork loin, tofu, beans, yogurt, milk, soy milk, eggs, especially egg whites, nuts and seeds, preferably the pumpkin, the squash, and the watermelon seeds.
Now, would you say that there are any real good or bad proteins?
Yes, the best proteins would be like the lean cuts of meat and the low fat or the fat free dairy products. Also, including chicken, turkey without the skin, ground turkey breast, fish like salmon. Now, the second best would be the plant sources like the nuts, seeds, beans, and soy products. And then the bad proteins would be the saturated fat products like red meat, poultry, which is another word for chicken, eggs with the yolk, and regular dairy products that are not fat free.
Now, what would you say is a healthy amount of protein? And remember, you keep helping me understand this by comparing active and people that are not active, sedentary.
For active, it would be zero point 0.5 or 0.55 to zero point 0.9 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Say if you were to weigh 160 pounds, it would be 57.6 grams. Same goes for the sedentary, where it takes 0.55 to zero point 0.9 grams of protein per pound of body weight, and it would be the same outcome. 160 pounds equals 56.6 grams. Now, in average, it would be 5 to 6 ounces of protein a day. Like, say, 1 ounce would equal 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, 1 ounce would equal 1 ounce of meat, 1 ounce would equal 1 egg, 1 ounce would equal half a cup of nuts, and 1 ounce would equal 1/4 cups of cooked beans.
So you would need 6 of any of those in a combined manner.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Now, can you give me an example of a good portion of carbohydrates for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Good carbohydrates for breakfast. Carbohydrates or proteins?
Proteins, yes, doctor, proteins.
Proteins.
Thank you.
A good example of proportions of proteins would be 2 egg whites, ham, yogurt, cheese, milk, and peanut butter. Now for lunch, it would be tuna, grilled chicken, and turkey breast. Now for dinner, it could be lentil soup, salad with grilled chicken, beans, tofu, cottage cheese, and lean cuts of beef.
All right. Now, I have a couple of more questions, and that's it, doctor. Um, I needed to know about nucleic acid. What is that?
Nucleic acids are the building blocks of living organisms. There are many types of nucleic acids like DNA, RNA, mRNA, and tRNA, which holds the genetic information that are in your genes.
Now, how the information in our DNA, does it affect our metabolism?
The genes that are coded in the DNA instructions that are controlled by the production of the RNA, which is direct, and the production of proteins, that's how it's affected.
Now, doctor, what is your opinion? Is it true that a person that has the genes to be overweight cannot get in shape even if it is following the recommendation of a doctor?
Accordingly to researchers in the Cambridge University, they have discovered that a gene called KSR2, which reduces the ability of cells to metabolize glucose and fatty acids, which produce energy. Basically, that it's saying yes, that there is a way it could happen.
All right. Doctor, you also mentioned that you were going to give me some examples of what to eat. You want to talk to me about that?
Yes, there are examples up here that I have for you. I also wrote them down here in this notebook if you would like to take a look at that. Basically what it is, it's just like a little chart that I have here for weekly diet that you can switch around and change for like the breakfast, lunch, and the dinners, like the oatmeal with the nuts and fat-free milk and apples.
That would be for breakfast.
That could be for breakfast, or the roast beef with wheat bread and some water. That could be for lunch, and then it could be the baked fish with baked potatoes and salad and water.
All right, doctor, that makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.